Do you ever remember getting asked by your teacher in class, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I'm sure as little kids you probably said firefighters, teachers, doctors, or probably an actress. But I'm pretty sure you or no one else has ever said a serial killer. No one ever grows up and thinks, "One day I want to become a serial killer." The only way they could ever get that idea into their head is if they had faced some sort of hardship in their childhood that molded their mind into thinking that they could ever become a serial killer. All serial killers had some sort of negligent nurture from their childhood that had influenced who they are today. We will look into how serial killers relate their killings to their past, the abuse they faced in their childhoods, and how people influence them in their past to become who they are. For a minute, let's pretend we are investigators at a crime scene. Let's look around for the clues. We can use a scene as a foundation to lead us to the killer's intentions. Crime scenes are always the key to finding out the situations the killers are in that cause them to do what they do. There is always a connection between the kills and their past. We look around us and we see where the location is at. Take into account the time of the day, and sadly see the terrible details of the victim, such as position, who it is, and how the victim died. As devastating as this visual is to think about, the serial killer tends to kill the victim because they seem to them as a surrogate who affected him in the past, and the place is always meaningful to him. Since serial killers are people who commit a series of murders at different occasions, they will eventually have a specific pattern. That pattern is based off their past. Serial killers view the killing as a remake of a memory, sort of like a memory on replay. They can play it over and over again with every kill, almost like a movie. It triggers a past life-altering event that happened to them, but it only temporarily pleases them with that connection, so they end up killing again, which leads to killing over and over and over. Since we know that the killings can relate to their past, let's go deeper into the different types of childhoods that a serial killer can potentially have. The obvious type that people always think of is an abusive childhood. Abuse is one of the main childhood routes that influence people to become serial killers. Study shows that an average of 68% of serial killers were abused in their homes. How does it affect it, though? Yeah, it's a painful memory, but if you really think about it, what mindset comes out of getting abused? Where do serial killers get the idea of killing? Well, parents are very influential, and when a parent or an adult figure in their life is abusing their kids, they do not realize they are teaching them the only way they will know how to survive: violence. They are taught either to be the beater or be beaten, and they of course want the control since they did not have it as children. Now, when abused differently, it can lead to different types of killings in the future. Psychological abuse will lead to more torture because the killer wants his victims to feel the pain he felt in his mind as a child. And physical and sexual abuse tends to lead to more of a quick kill and then dumping because that is how they felt their abuse was. While it comes to the topic of causes and effects, I believe that abuse can be a huge factor in serial killers' past, but others will stop agreeing with me when it comes to the idea that brain damage came to blame when it comes to turning people into serial killers. Shauna Freeman emphasizes the fact that getting damage to the frontal lobe in the brain, which controls aggression, can lead to tones of adrenaline, which leads to tone of rage to kill. Though I concede the fact that damage had to happen to them in the brain, I still insist that something traumatic had to happen to them in the past that caused their brains to have damage and make them have killing needs. Of course, out of the serial killers' childhoods, there is a chunk of them that have never been abused. However, their environments still affect them big time and even had some pretty terrible influences in their past. The way parents or older people raise them are perfect training wheels for their personalities, and when they are taught wrong with them, it can reflect when their training wheels are taken off later, and they end up falling when they go ride on their own. All the things we learned to do as kids, such as walk or talk, were easy. And as an adult, we realize it would be harder to learn it brand new now. Take learning a new language, for instance. When we learn to speak as kids, our brains are focusing only on that, and we grow learning that language. But if we get older and try to learn it, it is way harder, and we end up not trying. When serial killers are taught something bad at a young age, they keep that mindset of virtues forever. To learn a new virtue as an adult is hard to accomplish, and they would end up not even trying it. Killers would have also had a single parent or a single big role model growing up whose teaching methods had have caused traumatic effects on them. A serial killer named Henry Lee Lucas had a single mother who had him dress up as a girl and watch her have sex with her clients, which led him into killing women. Richard Ramirez also had an older cousin he always hung out with and relied on, and when his cousin came back from the Vietnam War, he showed Ramirez pictures of girls naked he had raped. His cousin made it seem that it was not wrong, and in Ramirez's mind, it was okay to rape women. Serial killers' minds, such as Ramirez's, are dented or shaped in the past from their childhoods, from someone they depended on that tends to alter their perspective on how humans coexist. This is usually the reason why they act so differently around people and make social encounterments so awkward. However, the essence of Barrett Brogaard's argument is that there is an antisocial personality disorder that causes serial killers to feel disconnected from everyone, which makes them act so differently around others and feel isolated. He states that this disorder makes up 38% of someone's individuality. Brogaard states that this disorder gives a serial killer a reason to kill because he has no sense of guilt or empathy. I disagree with Brogaard's assumption in giving them a reason to kill because even if someone's born with this disorder and has to live with it, the other 62% of the person's individuality is not the disorder, and the rest of the person and who they become in the future is molded by their environment they are surrounded in. Now, after all of this, when you go out in public and you see a child getting yelled at, or someone in class getting bullied or feeling isolated, just keep in mind their actions don't mean anything. People in general all have triggers from their past that affect who they are today, and some are as bad as becoming serial killers. We as citizens want less danger in the world and less serial killers, and to do that we have to be aware of how past and even present affect the future. So the next time a social worker meets with the families or a parent wonders why their kids are feeling down maybe, they should go and ask how they are feeling and what their life is like in the moment.